All right, we are live for this week's Rightwingers Gone Wild. I'm going to go live on Instagram here in a second when it will let me. Okay, and now we're live on IG and Facebook and YouTube, and this is what is going to become a weekly feature called Rightwingers Gone Wild. And so we'll wait a little bit. We're going to have, this will be kind of funny, but I want to tell you why it has a purpose. And we'll tell you about that in just a second. Hi, Doug. How are you? For those of you who can and are on my email list, you may have gotten an email from me today. My birthday is coming up on the 26th. If you have a copy of my book, I want you on the 26th to promote it on your social media. Thank you, Doug. What I want is for you to read the book. I'm going to send out an email and say, if you can't read the whole book by the 26th, I have a few chapters I would suggest you read to get the feel. And then, just kind of go on your social media and say, this is why I loved this book. And so you have to be on my email list, and you can get on there by going to pastor-paul.com. You have to get that dash in there, pastor-paul.com. And I will send you an email with some suggestions of how, for my birthday, you can give me the gift of promoting my novel. The novel is Religious Right, Religiously Wrong, and it is my tome on high art. Thank you. It is my view on what Jesus, or a Jesus type character, would say to the American right-wing church today, were he incarnate in America walking around. And trust me, there were men, religious men, who believed their religion needed to be in charge of their country so they could make Israel great again. And once Israel was made great again, God's plan on earth would be back intact. And they were called, some were called the Herodians, because they had partnered with a non-Jewish king who ironically was a land and building developer, which I always find very intriguing. And this group called the Sadducees, who were also called the Herodians, believed, oh yeah, we can partner with this amoral man to get to this good end of mega. And Jesus was having none of it. And so if Jesus was not mega, then I believe there is zero chance he would be MAGA. But anyway, that's what we do. So welcome. I'm going to do this every week, and I'm going to start trying it on Tuesday afternoon. If that's not the best time, we may move it around at some point. But it is called Rightwingers Gone Wild. Now, we are going to have some fun at the expense of some Christians and right-wingers, but I'm not doing it just for the purpose of making fun of people. I have people around me who are very sensitive to those kind of things, even one who happens to live in this place where my office is located. But I have a purpose in this. Jesus was very, very mean and sarcastic to people that did things that violated scripture to make themselves appear superior, exclusive, and hostile to the poor, the foreigner, the outcast, and the widow, who represented the economically disadvantaged. And in fact, I mean, we can see that where Jesus talked about these Herodians, and he said, beware the leaven of these guys, the leaven being, like leaven in bread. He said it takes over the whole loaf, and the bread gets manipulated by that leaven. And he called it the leaven of the Herodians, which creates hypocrisy. And then he talked later about that leaven, and he said that leaven looks like this. It is a fulfillment of the prophecy of Isaiah that says that those that eat this leaven on a regular basis will have their hearts grow dull, and their ears hard of hearing. They have shut their eyes, that they might not look with their eyes or hear with their ears or understand with their hearts and turn, and I would heal them. And he says to those who are outcast from the status quo structure of their religion, which they all grew up in, they've now turned away from their religion to walk with this guy, Jesus. Does it sound like any of us deconstructionists out there? And Jesus says to those guys, but blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. And truly, I tell you, many prophets and righteous people long to see what you see, but did not see it, and to hear what you hear, but did not hear it. So I say that to you as an encouragement, that this preponderance we see of right-wing Christianity that has really taken over Christianity is in fact just a repetition of history from the time that when Jesus was on earth. And he said that leaven will take you over. And we see it so often in people I deal with on social media that they simply cannot see truth. And we see this in some of these videos that are a little bit funny, very scary, and reasons we need to see. And my other hope is that someday somebody who is captive to right-wing Christianity will happen across this feed one day and will say, well, I'm not that person. And it will cause them to have some introspection about the religious sect in which they are joined. So let's start off today with a fun one. This is a Christian podcast. I'm sorry I don't have the name of it, and I probably wouldn't tell anyway, because I don't want people to go watch it. But Christian podcast. And when people say, I heard this the other day, like, oh, every time somebody disagrees with a Christian, they call it Christian nationalism. No, every time we see a Christian trying to use the religion of my heritage to gain political power, that is Christian nationalism. And it sounds like what this woman is talking about here. And if you don't think Christian nationalism is a danger to our country, to our society, and to people, listen to this sweet Southern woman right here.
The church. You and I, Eric, are the church. And so we run the state, but the state, the government, has no control over the church. And then everybody's like, oh, well, then you got to let Satanists come in, and you've got to let witches come in, and you've got to let Muslims and Hindu. No, no, we don't. No, we don't. Because America is founded on God Almighty, Creator God, Yahweh, Elohim. We can go on and on. That is what we're founded on. And I don't have to honor your religion. I don't have to give you freedom of religion. Freedom of religion is there for us to worship Jesus. It's not for you to come force anything else upon me. And so we had that all wrong. And we've had tolerance. We've been politically correct. And at what point are we going to say, nope, we're not going to be? You can do whatever you want to in the comfort of your home. You can do whatever you want to, but don't come into my government and bring any of that trash in there. And we shouldn't be electing anyone in government, local, state, or federal, that is not a Christian.
Yeah. This is Project 2025. Literally, everybody in government needs to be a Christian. And yes, you can worship any way you want in your own home. But if you should, like, say, build a mosque, that is forcing your religion on those horribly oppressed Christians out there. And the God's Not Dead 5 is, out there again saying, oh, everybody's trying to take us over, us Christians. The existence of people who are not Christian to right-wing Christians are an oppression to right-wing Christians. Jew, Muslim, Buddhist, atheist, which is not a religion, by the way, New Ager, and to many Christians, somebody not of their particular sectarian sect of religion. The Constitution Oh, by the way, she said Yahweh and Elohim. Those are not the same being in Hebrew scripture, by the way. Just so you know, the Hebrews chose Yahweh as their God. And Hebrew scripture is clear. There are other gods. No, it's not just talking about the Trinity. There are other gods, and they chose Yahweh. But listen to what, I mean, it's funny because she's doing, no, no, we don't have to. But it's scary because this is their belief. And oftentimes they will say to each other, like, don't say that out loud. Don't say that out loud. We, say like, oh no, we want all religions to have their place. But what they're really saying is Christianity has freedom and every other religion needs to be practiced in secret. And we need a religion test to elect somebody to office. And part of that is Republican operative started this idea back in the 60s and 70s that conservatism and Christianity was always going to be in the minority politically in the country. So we needed to get around this democracy thing. His name was Paul Weyrich. He wanted to find ways to keep people from voting so that the minority of conservatism could be in charge of the country. And he believed part of that process would be to weaken institutions, government, television, publishing companies. Christians needed to separate themselves and start their own publishing companies, publish their own books, their own TV networks, their own music industry, all of that stuff. Wait, I think I've got the wrong microphone on here. This may sound better when I. And Kirk Cameron voices that in this video. The schools was one of the places that Paul Weyrich says it's very, very important that we weaken the schools and get our kids out of there so we can indoctrinate them with our own teachings. And Kirk Cameron shares that with us with a real satanic panic mixed in with it.
Or we believe the lie that we're not qualified experts to educate our kids, so we have to subcontract our parenting and discipleship out to the government. We're going to have little kids that come back as little Marxists, little statists, little atheists, drag queens, strippers, drug dealers, and you name it. Pull your kids out of the schools that are teaching your kids bad things and put them into places that teach them good things.
I mean, it's laughable, isn't it? I mean, I want people to see when you're in that echo chamber, what he just said makes all the sense in the world. That your little fourth grader is being taught to be a Marxist or a drag queen. It makes all the sense in the world. But the real reason private Christian schools came into existence was because Christians didn't want their little white children going to school with little black children. And if you one of the real shockers for me of right-wing Christianity is the amount of racism that was embedded in what we did. And if you don't believe me, check out this Christian podcaster.
Overtime to try to scrub them off the internet of videos of black people, certain races that just don't like each other and they don't do well. And the internet is full of videos, although they're working overtime to try to scrub them off the internet, of videos of black people, of Muslims attacking white Christian people. So that's the real narrative, but that's not the one that the left wants to spin and the woke mob wants to run with. Because in this country, we have an abundance of victims, of wannabe victims, and a lack of real racists out there, okay? You can probably name on a hand some actual real racists who want to send them all back to Africa. The most of us just want to say a racist joke here and there. We have a fair amount of racism that's just there for self-preservation and protection of our own species. And that's about it. Yep.
Wait, what? I got to hear that again.
Want to be victims, and a lack of real racists out there. Okay, you can probably name on a hand some actual real racists who want to send them all back to Africa. The most of us just want to say a racist joke here and there. We have a fair amount of racism that's just there for self-preservation and protection of our own species. And that's about it. Yep.
This person thinks being white makes you a part of a species that is different than people with different skin tone. The reason private Christian schools came into existence and is woven into the fabric of why they exist. I'm not saying everybody who goes to a private Christian school is for this reason. Now, my son went to private Christian schools, but you have to unlock yourself from the foundational roots of these things by saying no more is racism. And what Donald Trump has revealed in Christianity is that racism is a part of the fabric of it all. Yeah, Doug says Mark Robinson, who is a Black pastor Republican running for governor of North Carolina, wants to go back when Blacks were swinging from cheap trees. Oh, I'm sick to my stomach even saying it. I know he wants queer people to be eliminated. And he's a big reason why Kamala Harris has a good chance to win. I shouldn't say a good chance, has a real chance to win North Carolina. The other reason she has a real chance is named Donald Trump. Yeah, racism is a big reason that Christians have gone this right-wing direction. And believing in crazy, cracky things like lizard goblins.
Flashpoint, it would take what we put on the air, we take very seriously. And who we put on the air, we take seriously as well. But that comes even more so when it comes to men of the cloth and prophets. Are you encouraged or discouraged about where America is right now?
You know, even when we bring up guys like Tim Walz and you're looking at what's going on, people say he's, Midwestern folksy. I have another word for him, being from Minnesota myself, and it's weird. The guy's just weird. You see the way he hugs his wife, you see the way he does everything. And, it's interesting how the spirit of Antichrist just loves to pick these people that fit right in with the wicked overlord lizard mafia that is really driven by their goblin masters. And when you're looking at this, I believe that's exactly what we're facing right now.
I mean, what do you even say to that? But oddly, when you're taught that there's a being sitting on a throne saying, worship me the right way, or else I will set you on fire for all of eternity. And oh, by the way, I'm a good father. And worship me for everything good that happens in the world and blame me for nothing bad that happens. Everything bad is on you. When we're made to believe that, and made to believe there's a little red guy with little horns running around tempting us to steal bubble gum. And if we follow that little red horned guy, there's this other guy that's going to come back at some point and leave us behind. When you're groomed to believe stories like that, how big a leap is it to believe in lizard goblin overlords, or like Marjorie Taylor Greene does, Jewish space lasers? or other anti-Semitic tropes like that. What is weird about the way Tim Walz hugs his wife? But Christians have been groomed to believe in these things, and they are really, really stuck on lizards.
I got married. One night, this other Derek appears in our bed. The real Derek is lying down next to me. Other Derek sits right up out of him. It startled me. I knew that was not Derek. And so I asked this critter, "Who are you?"
Who are you?
Because he clearly wanted to have sexual relations.
Of course.
And he said, "Come on, I'm your husband." I said, "Who are you?" And he had the nerve to claim to be Ahasuerus, Xerxes. Well, other Derek seriously wanted to invite me to use my free will to do something that was going to pull me away from God. So this last time, I knew he was really desperate. And I asked him again, "Who are you?" He told me the same answer. And I said, "I am not going with you." This was an internal dialogue. Finally, I said, "I've had enough." In my mind, I reached up. I grabbed his face. And I said, "You are a liar. And Jesus is real." And I pulled that face off. And beneath it was a reptile.
A lizard. Yeah. Oh, I knew it.
And he had little creatures with him this time. He brought these little halfling creatures, and they looked like,
kinky.
I don't know, gargoyles. They were very reptilian as well. So beneath that face of Derek was a reptilian serpentine creature, probably similar to what was visiting the Anasazi.
Wow.
Well, wow. Wow. When you're taught to believe in a creator God and a evil devil tempter and a leaving behind rapture and an eternal heaven and an eternal conscious torment hell, believing in lizard beings is not such a big leap. And it's not such a big leap to believe that a lizard would come and want to have sex with you when sex is always, always on the minds of Christian men, apparently.
Right. This is really interesting. The book of Ephesians says to you, men, that if the devil literally physically appears to you, it says what you need to do is stand firm against the fiery darts of the evil one. But then the same book says to flee sexual immorality. Do you know what that means? If you go out of one of our campuses, get to your car, and the literal physical devil, horns and tail and fang, standing right there, you need to stand up and bow up, and the Bible's going, hey, fight. But if you go out there and it's like some shady little girl in a miniskirt, run, Forrest, run! You are no match for this enemy.
I'm sorry, I cannot laugh at that. Sexualizing and demonizing some girl in a miniskirt. It's evil. It's evil. Making women, or even worse, young female children, responsible for your repressed sexuality that has been stuffed by your repressive, law-based, shame-giving religion. Is truly evil. You talk about grooming, and Christians like to talk about groomers in school. That right there, my friend, is grooming. Doug, I have not seen What's a Girl to Do. Is that like a documentary of girls, of women who had to go through purity culture? And I hear Christians talk about grooming in schools. And you know what's amazing is by far, oh God, no. Well, tell me what's a girl to do? What does that mean? By far, the biggest sexual predators in America are white, heterosexual Christian men. It's a far right-wing sitcom. What's a Girl to Do? All right, I'll have to check it out. Thanks for letting me know. So all of this repression and faux oppression and grooming makes Christians susceptible to manipulation of their beliefs, that they can believe in lizard people, and that Mike Pence is awesome because he refuses to meet one-on-one with a female, putting women in the workplace at huge disadvantages because he can't stop himself from trying to look down her blouse. That's a Mike Pence problem. That's not a problem with women meeting with him in the workplace. Come on, Christians, do better. But since you've been taught to believe anything, we get stuff like this. A message given to me on Instagram today. It says, for the record, as seen on ABC News, the Ohio governor reported that all 33 bomb threats were investigated and found to be hoaxes originating overseas. This is true what the Ohio governor has reported. Whether it's entirely factual, I'll wait and see. But yes, this is true what the report's on here. This person goes on to say, the FBI also says via CNN that it was likely inflammatory rhetoric by Democrat politicians. By the way, when somebody says Democrat politicians rather than Democratic politicians, you know they are watching right-wing media, because for some reason, right-wing media has decided it's owning the libs to say Democrat instead of Democratic. It would be like saying Republic instead of Republican. You know, Democrat politicians and media that inspired the newest assassination attempt on Trump. When you've been groomed to believe in lizard people and rapture and all these other things, you can believe anything. So first, let's take, all of those bomb threats in Springfield, Ohio originated overseas. Why do you think, if say that's 100% true, and that's quite possible, I'm not disputing, and you're right, the Ohio governor did say that. I still want to see if that's entirely true, but it's plausible for sure, and the Ohio governor did say it. He's a Republican, so I don't totally believe it, but it could be true, and it's very plausible. But even so, why do you think then foreign operatives just started calling bomb threats into Springfield, Ohio? Did they just point at a map? Boom, let's call in bomb threats to Springfield, Ohio. 33 of them, according to the Ohio governor. Did they just pull Springfield, Ohio out of a hat? Or was it a lie, not rhetoric, a lie told by J.D. Vance, a senator from Ohio who's supposed to be representing constituents, who admitted the other day on CNN, that was on CNN, that he made up the story. He later backtracked it, but he said out loud, I'll keep making up stories if I have to. But let's say it was a slip of the tongue. He knows for a fact he's propagating a story that is not true. So foreign operatives didn't just choose Springfield, Ohio. They were pointed to Springfield, Ohio by J.D. Vance, a U.S. senator, propagating an untrue story, and by Donald Trump repeating that story in a freaking presidential debate, which at any other point in American history would have been an automatic disqualification for being president of the United States. But since we now live in a bizarro world where right-wingers believe in lizard people and space lasers and think, we just like to tell racist jokes. Just racist jokes. What's the problem? Now it's okay. The woman who some say was eating the cat, and that video was brought to the Springfield City Council by a man who literally is a part of a KKK group in Springfield, Ohio. She was not in Springfield, Ohio. We don't know for sure that she ate the cat, but we do know that she was having a difficult episode, and we know that she is an American citizen. And then there was a picture of a guy carrying a goose who also was not. Oh, that's right, Doug. It was the Blood Tribe. Yes. A white supremacist group in Springfield, Ohio. And he is a very proud and admitted on the video in the city council meeting that he is a member of that group. And he's the one that started this story that J.D. Vance picked up. Thank you, Mr. Burgundy. I hope you heard a moment of truth that can help break through believing in lizard people and Donald Trump. Good luck. So even if all of the bomb threats came from out of the country, they went to Springfield, Ohio, because J.D. Vance and Donald Trump are propagating what they know. At least J.D. Vance knows it's a lie. I'm not sure. Donald Trump may not be intelligent enough to know it's a lie. He may, because he said in the debate, again, what would be disqualifying for a presidential candidate in any other debate in the history of America? I saw the man say it on TV. I laugh because I have to, because it's so unbelievable that this is where we are as a people. Secondly, on that comment, the FBI did not say on CNN, again, the specificity of that to say the FBI said, as reported on CNN, that is somebody who got their information from some right-wing media outlet and said, the FBI said it was likely the rhetoric of the Democrat Party rather than the Democratic Party, which also shows this is a right-wing media follower, that caused the second assassination attempt on Donald Trump. And I'm very glad the Secret Service made sure this man did not get a shot at Donald Trump. I am against violence, and particularly against gun violence in America, where it's shocking that we have way more gun violence than other countries. And it has nothing to do with the fact that we have almost half of the world's privately owned guns. Almost. But the FBI did not make that statement, and CNN did not report it. And it just shows again how gullible and manipulatable right-wing media has been able to take over these right-wing Christians. And I saw it happening as a pastor in the church. Thanks, Mr. Burgundy. So Mr. Burgundy, one of the commenters on here, says that he's a staunch Second Amendment supporter. So one thing I always ask on that, and I'm serious on this question, if the Second Amendment says the government can pass no law restricting the ownership of weaponry, then should your neighbor be allowed to own an atomic weapon? Should your neighbor be able to own a cache of 1,000 Molotov cocktails? If no law can be passed restricting the ownership of a weapon, should your neighbor be allowed to have a cadre of tanks and surface-to-air anti-aircraft missile launchers and missiles? And Mr. Burgundy says clearly no. Well, then you're not a staunch defender of the Second Amendment. You believe there is lines that can be drawn, and so therefore, congratulations. We can have arguments about whether a weapon that has no purpose other than killing a whole bunch of human beings in just a few seconds should be able to get into the hands of a disturbed 14-year-old so easily in America, when the data is incontrovertible and inarguable that we have more gun deaths in America than any other of the wealthy countries in the world, because we have way more guns than any of those countries do. So you don't believe the Second Amendment is immutable because you believe that we can restrict people from owning bombs and tanks and Molotov cocktails. So there we go. As for your question to whether I'm a real pastor, I guess that would depend on your definition of a real pastor. I have my 2 ordinations on the wall, but for most Americans, real pastor means somebody that tells them what they want to hear, particularly in their political beliefs, and that's not me. All right, guys, let's finish it up with something funny today. Right-wingers gone wild. And again, I'm not just trying to make fun of people. I'm trying to demonstrate that Jesus said the leaven of bad religion, and the bad religion, the people that he called whitewashed tombs, were those that had taken their religion and made it into a law-based, shame-giving belief system that they felt should take over the government so they could make Israel great again, because they believed the only way God's plan could exist on earth was for Israel to be the economic and military power of the world, completely paralleling Christian nationalism. America is God's amazing place that can only be the country to carry on God's plan on earth by being the military and economic power. And the only way that can happen is by a particular type of Christianity being in charge of the civil government. And it's a really evil belief. And as we pointed out before, good to see you, Mr. Burgundy. Thanks for hanging out here. And I appreciate your kind words. I don't preach on Sundays anywhere anymore, by the way. Oh, sorry, that's the wrong screenshot. Sorry about that, guys. I'm doing too many things at the same time, running this by myself. Remember what Jesus said. Those that are mega no longer have eyes to see and ears to hear, but those of you who have resisted that temptation to stay in that community can see things the prophets long to see. All right, so let's finish with a funny one. This is from Saturday Night Live. YouTube, this is parody, so don't ban me for this. We finish with something funny.
Weather experts are forecasting that this year will see the highest number of hurricanes ever, thanks to an abnormally active summer of gay weddings.
Somewhere Jerry Falwell is laughing at that joke, right? Somewhere. I promise. All right. That's it for today. Thanks for hanging out with me, Doug. It kind of was just you and me, but for everybody out there, I want to remind you that this Sunday night we're going to have a Zoom gathering for evangelicalish, and it's Would Jesus Be a Christian Nationalist? An evangelicalish Zoom gathering this Sunday at 5:30 Pacific. And if you go into the link tree in the bio of whatever platform you're watching this on, you can get the link there to go register and get your Zoom link to join. Or you can go to my website, pastor-paul.com or evangelicalish.com, and it'll have the link to send you there so you can register and join. I want to see you and look you in the eye on Sunday at 5:30 Pacific. I will be, I'll present the presentation I did on my 1946, the movie trip, and we'll just chat and hang out. So that's Sunday night, 5:30 Pacific. Jesus, the Christian Nationalist. We'll talk about it and talk more about my birthday gift of promoting my book on your social media platform, which would mean an awful lot to me if you do that. Doug, I hope we see you there, and everybody else who catches this video. Love you all. We will see you soon.